Hey everyone, I just got my finish in for qualifying for Masters Tour, and I wanted to talk about going for a finish, the finishing process, and how I did it. Going a finish on ladder can be very stressful. It's especially because there can be a huge amount of decay of your rank in the last days. So I want to talk about that. I think a lot of people fail finishing because it's very, very hard. The easiest way to get finished is kind of to get like top 10 legend in the last week. If you get top 10 legend in like the last week, that will usually hold up. But realistically, you might not be playing your best. It can take a lot of time, a lot of sample size, and a lot of focused gameplay. But that's one of the first things I want to talk about is sort of how to pick your deck and how to make it maximize your chances with that deck. Just because the deck is good doesn't mean it's right for you. I picked Charge Warrior. If you watched my last video, this is why I picked. I went 12-0 with it. I had been testing stuff out. I've been doing very well with Blessed Priest. But one of the things I didn't want to play with Blessed Priest is Blessed Priest is very mechanical deck. And I haven't still put in the full time into mastery of that deck. To get a very mechanical deck with lots of Naga plays, to be able to find the plays quickly enough and execute them well takes a huge amount of practice. And often when I want to go for a finish or I'm in a high stress situation, I didn't want to pick a deck with a very high mechanical sort of tax. I want to take the things with simple mechanics. Charge Warrior has a lot of math and counting as well, which when I'm normally laddering, I don't really like because you have to be really focused. But when you're really, really tryharding, you can get a lot of edge by counting your math, knowing how much you need for lethal. There's a lot of just paying attention that I think I can do really, really well when I'm tryharding versus if I'm just streaming and chilling and joking around with chat. I might miss lethals. I might miss a big play. So 1 to 2 is I'm a very good Charge Warrior player or Control Warrior player. So when I select this deck, I needed to make the adjustment. So I'd already started playing Charge Warrior because I thought it might be a thing. But it was a thing of I played a lot of Control Warrior, but Control Warrior wasn't as good of a choice in the meta. That's one of the realities is if you're picking a suboptimal deck, if you're not taking a high tier deck, you're giving yourself a fundamental disadvantage. So I could have picked Control Warrior, but with the amount of Priest on board, I played against 30% Priest. Priest absolutely annihilates Control Warrior, where Charge Warrior has a fighting chance. And my stats actually, so I'll go over stats. This for Priest started off really bad, and as I got better and better about playing to my outs and finding the wins against Priest, my win rate against Priest went up and up. So one of the first things I want to say is you're doing is pick a single deck. Don't bounce around decks. That's the first thing I want to say. Bouncing around decks is a huge mistake. The reality is to get a top 50 lineage, you need to be outplaying your opponents. You need to be having a more of a win rate edge than 52 or 53%. 35 games on Asia. I played more overall and having a 65.7% win rate. And I had played some Priest before that with a 60% win rate and a Paladin. So the reality is that shows you for the last, I did some climbing, but for the last week, I had over a 60% win rate overall. That's difficult to do, and you're not going to do that unless you have a sort of skill advantage. So if the reality is, it doesn't matter if you have the best deck in the game if you're not outplaying your opponents, and you're not outplaying bad players. You're outplaying top 150 legend players. Often you'll be ranked lower because the players up high are less likely to queue, and the lower ranks are more likely to queue around a run 20 or something like that. But if you're not outplaying your opponents, you're not going to climb. That's one of the first things is getting the mindset of I need to be playing better than my opponents. I need to be punishing them for their mistakes. I need to be making not many mistakes myself and playing a deck that I feel I can do that well with. Charge Warrior was a good choice for me. I could have picked Paladin. I didn't feel like I had as much room to outplay people with. And Priest, I felt I did, but I felt I was much more likely to make mistakes. I did not feel as confident in my Priest gameplay. It's a thing of, I think if I give that deck another month, but it takes a huge amount of focus, and also can be very draining, because it's just so much energy. So yeah. So let me show you some of my Charge Warrior stats overall. I'm still currently, I'm currently might get a finish on America as well. So I got one of the things I do is I get my rank to about top 100 legend going into the last week. It makes very important you have to be a top 100 legend, because if you have to climb 500 ranks just to get in the top 100, by the time you get there you're going to be stressed. You're not going to be as fresh. So right now currently I'm ranked 42. Well, you can see on America there's a lot bigger of a breathing room. Top 71, 72 makes it. So I'm likely to make it on America. But you can see I think I got to rank 33 on America, and I got to my highest rank I got to 24 in Asia. So it's good, but to get the finishes, I'm not necessarily going to get the finish on America, but I don't need it anymore. But it's a thing of getting that initial rank can be is very good. So then when you're going your last days, you don't need a crazy win rate because you've already built up that top 100. Let me go and show you my stats overall. There we go. Okay. So here are my stats overall. I ended up going 85 and 43 overall. I think this does include my arena events, so just to show you kind of how I'm doing with Charge Warrior, and to show you where I'm getting my edges. So you can see there are 3 matchups where I'm massively crushing it. Paladin, Rogue, and Warrior. Warrior, you can see I'm clearly outplaying people, and I tend to do that in control mirrors. I tend to be very good, even though it's kind of an OTK mirror. With 14 and 5, it's literally the mirror. So I'm outplaying people. I'm doing things better. I think one of the things I noticed with Charge Warrior players, they're often sort of neglecting their draw. They just go weapon on 4, double hit this, and they often will run out of stuff. And if you can gain a lot of armor, you can make it so they really need their full OTK to kill you. That's something I've noticed about sort of just generally putting efficiency. And there are other things like I like playing Naga on 4, and then holding back, and just often if they use a shield slam and you play another Naga, and they don't have it's very unlikely to have a second shield slam. If they don't play another Naga, you just keep hitting them in the face for 5, making your OTK a lot easier to get off. But I think sort of minimizing damage, cycling is really huge. And just being efficient of like, okay, what cards can I risk? Do I draw 5 and overdraw here? Stuff like that. Having those instincts on that matchup. The next matchup I'm absolutely crushing is Rogue, which has actually surprised me because the Pirate Rogue with the Hotus, because I played a decent amount, and that version is supposed to kind of crush you, but I'm doing just fine against it. I think a lot of against Rogue is knowing key breakpoints and knowing when to shield shatter. So often, there's things like, let's say you shield shatter on 3, and then they go, or shield shatter on 4, and then they go the 2 3/3s, and then coin dreads, and only have 6 3/3s, and you don't have another shield shatter. That stuff can happen and really hurt you. So often it's better against Rogue to take a bunch of damage for a turn and then delay your shield shatter. So knowing key breakpoints, key turns that they're likely to do plays. So there's a game I remember, I think I shield shattered on 3 because I thought they look like they're out of stuff. Sort of having sort of the read of, are they likely to play more minions? Because sometimes you don't shield shatter for a turn and then they just don't play more minions, and you were better off shield shattering the previous turn. But I think that's one of the big skills of that matchup. Paladin, one is I'm beating Holy Paladins badly. One, you don't need, if you get the full OTK, you can get through Cariel. So kind of managing the board and it's good to keep the tempo going against the Holy Paladin, so that it's kind of neck and neck. The big way I've lost, I think the only game I've lost against a Holy Paladin is they went the 2-mana 1/3 on 1, then they played the Starfish, and they went Blessing of Kings on turn 4 on the Divine Shield taunt. And that was very, very difficult for me to deal with. I think it's like one of the, and then I lost one game against Mech Paladin, I believe. But I think most part I'm crushing Mech Paladins. I'm crushing Holy Paladins. The stats, that's just one area where I'm really beating the global stats. So to show you what the global stats are, Charge Warrior is very unfavored against Priest. And you can see Mech Paladin. It's very unfavored. Sort of the hand buff and Holy Paladin, it's about 60%. You could see I'm absolutely crushing those stats. I'm doing way better. Because I think Mech Paladin, when you play it right against controller, at least against the players, I think you're actually a favorite by a lot. But it's a thing of you have to be really good at control warrior, which is why I like the matchup, because I feel it's a way I can outplay people. And I like putting myself in positions where I can outplay people. But if you watch my Charge Warrior, we have games against a Mech Paladin where it looks very difficult to win, and we pull off the win. So I think there's a lot you can do to sort of, one of the things that Mech Paladin's weak on is finishing you off. They don't have charge minions. So if you kind of can read where you are, you can say, okay, maybe I don't even play anything and I just take 15 damage here, because then I can go Brawl next turn, and then I can go Rock Roar the next turn, knowing when to just take damage, when to fight for board, when to use your shield slams. These are things that you really have to be planning and sort of looking to outplay your opponent of, how do I stop their aggression? And because they don't have sort of some of the punishing cards that other classes have, things like a smite that I don't think they most lists run, it's very hard for them to finish you off. So if you are able to sort of think multiple turns ahead, and like what I like to do against Paladins, figure out what's my long-term plan for controlling bad, and at some point swing the board. So maybe you do a shield shatter play, and then you just go in with the Captain Bralvinger or a smite and maybe some Nelly things. Then all of a sudden they take 18 damage, and they maybe develop 2 7/5 Divine Shield taunts, but it's too late at that point. That's the way I beat that deck. But the big one where I've improved a lot is both Blessed Priest and Boar Priest. So I'm not sure about my Boar. I don't have the stats of these individually. But if we go back to the stats, you can see I am now 21-17 against Priest overall. This is on sort of all 3 servers. And if we go to Asia, where I was really trying, I actually went 8-4. So I think it's the thing of, as you get better at the matchup, there are outs. People are making mistakes. The decks are very difficult, and you can play. If you play Warrior well, I think you can beat the stats. I remember that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to beat the odds. And if you want to get a finish, you need to beat the odds. Now, if I had gotten more of a sample size, I ended up doing my finish for the last 35 games, and I'm really focusing on those 35 games. But if I had played, 100 games over the last 3 days, I probably only need about a 57% win rate to get a finish. If I kept going at this win rate, I would probably eventually get #1 legend. So this win rate I don't think is quite sustainable. But that being said, I got better and better at Blessed Priest of sort of recognizing when to shield slam, when to hold back, kind of when to take hits from weapons. One of the big things is like Najak is the only punish, but if you kind of swing the board, kind of same thing as Paladin, and then develop minions, that's a way that you can sort of all of a sudden you're doing lots of damage, and your opponent doesn't feel good about. It's hard for them to swing back. Najak and Blade Master are their big swing backs, so that can be another powerful tool for winning against Priest. So I was just talking about the Charge Warrior and how I sort of figured out. I originally was 2-8 against Priest, and I got better and better at the matchup. And I originally was really dreaded playing against Priest because this matchup's so tough. But as I got better and better, I figured out the outs. I figured out how to hang in there, how to make things difficult. And I think when I see a lot of people complaining about finishes, saying, "Oh, it's rock paper scissors," I just queued a bunch of bad matchups. And one, that means either A, you're not getting enough sample size, and 2, you're not looking for those ways to beat the odds, for how to outplay players in these spots. So with these decks, and certain decks that you know, I'm like I said, I'm crushing mech paladins and I'm doing okay against priests, which is crazy. But I was very tryharding with these games. But you can see when I have the bigger sample size, I'm still beating priest over a 30 game sample size, which saying it's a like I said, it's a 40% matchup. I think is pretty darn good. So, but yeah, so it's a thing of that's sort of how my general overall strategy and kind of how I was actually doing. I'm outplaying in the mirrors by a lot. I'm outplaying the paladins. I'm doing really well against the rogues, and I'm doing after getting good at the deck. I'm keeping it about even, slightly better against priests. My win rate keeps going up against priests, so it's a thing of a lot of times, like I said, I generally think when you want to have a deck you're good at, you want to almost be delusional about it. I know if you talk to Pocket Train, he'll think Boar Priest is favored against everything. It's not favored against everything, but except maybe like Alignment Druid. But Pocket Train has gotten to a point of mastery in his deck so much that it feels like he's favored because he is favored with his deck against most players. So it's a thing of looking for that skill advantage, looking to be in a spot where you're comfortable, where you know your deck, and that you can outplay your opponents. Like I said, if you're in a spot where you're like, oh, well, I got unlucky this, either you didn't start soon enough or you're not playing the deck well enough that you're outplaying people. And if you want to be at top 50, that means you need to be outplaying people. You need to be playing stronger than play there. Unfortunately, there's a limited amount of spots in Masters Tour, and you have to show that you deserve it more than other people, and you show that with your rank. And if you can't do that, you're not there yet. So that's the mindset. Another big thing, so let's talk about mindsets going for some of the stuff. So I want to talk about mindset when I'm playing. One of the things I did when I was playing this weekend is I say, if I can't sit down and play for 3 hours, I'm not going to do it. Why? I'm going to be when I get unlucky, when I get a bad matchup, it's going to tilt me much more if I'm not committing to a good amount of time. Why? Because if it's a thing of reality is in a small sample size of even 3 hours, a lot can happen. But in an hour, if you're like, oh, I queued 6 games and I got bad matchups, it's going to affect you a lot. You need to have the sample mindset of, I have the edge good enough to get in the top 50, right? I'm good enough a player. I've mastered my deck. I have an edge in the meta. So maybe you're not normally a top 50 player, but you've put your time into your deck. You've chosen a good deck for the current top 50 legend meta, and you've gained an edge in your mastery and skill in the matchups where you're outplaying people. Well, now you just need to put in the sample size. But the reality is, if you're in a small thing, it can be very, very easy to be like, oh, I'm getting unlucky, I'm queuing priests. And that's what I initially felt on Asia. I was like, I'm queuing so many priests, this is so tough. But then I put in the sample size, then all of a sudden, one night my priest matchup got better because I was playing against it so much, and I started eventually getting better matchups. But you need to put in the sample size, and you need to have that like long-term mindset. If you have this, I need to win this next game, you're going to tilt really badly. So what you want to be doing is say, okay, I have an edge. Now, if you don't have an edge, it's going to be tough. If you're like, I'm not good enough of a top 50 legend player, but I'm mad that I'm getting unlucky. That's a mindset that you're basically saying, I need to get lucky at least in the short term to make this top 50. If you don't feel like you have an edge, so if you don't have an edge, that's okay. You can still go for it. But then you shouldn't be having this, I need to get this Masters Tour. Say, my mindset is always like, if I'm going to win the Masters Tour, I need to be darn well sure I can get a top 50. If I can't get a top 50, if I can't keep it cool in this sample size, how do I think I'm going to win a Masters Tour? And that's always the mindset I have. So it's a thing of just having that long-term mindset, sitting down and thinking, oh, I'm going to play for 3 to 5 hours. And I'm going to keep it cool. When you're playing, your opponents are eventually going to get lucky. And if you get in this self-defeating mindset, it's going to tilt you. And I would feel this, and I've trained myself over years and years of playing games to not let those thoughts spiral. So my opponent gets like, I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. I was one game away from probably being in a spot where I could camp. Now I got to play for another 2 hours to maybe get that spot. That can be very frustrating. But you have to have this. No, my opponents are going to this. I need to put in the sample size, and I need to keep cool. One of the things I can do better than other people is keep cool, because my opponents are also going to potentially tilt. I need to stay under control and know that I just need to put the sample size. If I'm a good enough player and I have an edge over time, I will get there. But if I'm looking to win in the short run, I'm just gambling. So putting in that sample size so that you can have that long-term statistical edge is very, very important. And having the perspective of not overly worrying that you didn't make it in the short term. Very important. So that's number 2. And that's a really, really big. And that's why I think it can be so important to not resist the urge to switch decks. I think if you're switching decks, because you can be like, oh, I'm playing lots of Priest, and I thought about it, and I realized, no, if I do that, I'm not going to have if I play new decks, I'm not going to have mastered the matchups as well. I need to stick to the deck that I've committed to. And that means sometimes I'm going to run into the bad matchup a bunch of times. Because I have 2 servers, one time when I was playing so much Priest on Asia, I switched to America, came back in 2 hours on Asia. That can be a thing if you're diversifying your risk. So that's a big thing on sort of the mindset. I think just really don't fall for the trap of saying, oh, I got unlucky, or oh, woe is me. And just it's a thing of having one of the big things I learned, because I remember my first sort of playoffs, I did really, really badly. I felt really, really bad. I'd say there will be more opportunities. If making Masters Tour is important to you, one, if you put in the time and you get into the mastery, one, that's the thing that's very small percentage players do, really putting into the emotional time and energy effort to get mastery. But 2, there will be another chance. So you will have another chance to get that big win and make it to a Masters Tour. So know that, if you're not if you don't have the long term at one, if you're not quite there where you need a little bit of luck, maybe at the end to make that finish, and you don't make it, it's not the end of the world. Give it the next time. You'll get better if you keep focusing. And it's, there will be more opportunities. So that's another thing that I always tell myself. If things go badly, if I don't make it, there will be more opportunities, because it's very important to ease that anxiety. If you're too anxious and you're too like, oh my God, I need this, you're going to tilt and you're going to make big misplays. You need to have the mindset of all I can control is my play and my emotional state. I cannot control my RNG. I cannot control what I queue into. There's so many I can't control. Maybe a bunch of players below me queue and to just start doing really well and their rank goes up a lot. So many things I can't control. I just need to focus on what I can control. I know in the long term I will do well, even if in the short term I will not. So that's the big thing on mindset I wanted to talk about going into the finish. So I think the end result, I just want to say is, one, play a deck where you think you can outplay people. Play a deck that you're strong to, where you can get an edge personally. And remember, a 51 or 52 or even 53% edge is not enough. You need a higher win rate. 57%, I think, over a long term is probably, for a finish. If you're getting 100 plus sample size, you can see, like I said, I had a 65 and a 60% on the last 7 days win rate on all my decks, and I still barely made it in. So I could have gotten more sample size, but I didn't really want to, because I had already had a spot where I thought I had enough to make it. To set down and you sort of put in that time of like 3 to 5 hours and focus on playing really well. Get rid of distractions. One last thing I want to talk about is my mental checklist when I'm really tryharding. So when I try hard, I will do things to get myself into the zone. So these are things I've developed over years. So one of the things I do is start paying attention to everything possible. So if I'm playing against a charge warrior and I'm playing an opponent, I might do stuff like, okay, what is my opponent? How many cards did my opponent keep? Okay, 2. What is my opponent likely to do next turn? What are they likely to do the turn after that? What am I doing after this? What am I doing that? How am I winning this game? I just start asking myself all these questions to get my brain engaged. It can be very easy to just play cards. Think, okay, oh, I have this play. Is there a better play? My first instinct is this. What are the punishes for this? What are the advantages of this? Just start asking yourself all these questions and say, is there a better line? To really sort of maximize your brain potential and find those alternative better lines. If you're just autopiloting, you're not going to be playing as good. Now, sometimes it's fine to autopilot. I autopilot when I'm streaming all the time. But sometimes you want to play your absolute best. And one of the things I do really well is getting into my A game. So I have one of the highest Masters Tour wins of all time. I think number 6. And part of that is because I can play. I know how to get into consistently in my zone and hang in there and get my brain engaged. And I have habits and techniques. So like I said, looking, what is my opponent doing next turn? What am I doing next turn? How am I winning this game? What are some outs of this? What are likely ways to win? What are likely ways to lose? Can I minimize those? What are likely ways to win? Can I maximize those? What are some weird things that I need to pay attention to this game that I normally don't pay attention to? Maybe, oh, I have a 0-mana faceless at the bottom of the deck. I'm going to remember that so I can maybe set up a lethal with that. Stuff like that. Maybe my opponent's already used both Pyros as the board priest because I forced out a lot of pressure. Maybe now I can win with by just not letting them kill off their boars, stuff like that. There are a lot of really interesting ways you can win if you're paying attention to realize what is going differently in this game. How can I find an edge? How can I alter a line? If you're autopiloting, so that's something when I'm really tryharding, I like to do. This is a little bit different. But I just wanted to talk about sort of the mindsets and the skills to getting a finish. I barely made it. I ended up camping at 24 on Asia, and then I was stressing with that. I didn't want to play another game because there's always that variance. Even if I'm playing really good, I probably only win 60% of the time. So okay, Google, stop. I only probably win about 60% of the time. So there's always that chance that things go poorly for me. So the last second, you don't want to be doing ideally queuing. So luckily my rank did hold. I got exactly $50. They're 3 spots below. So just wanted to share this kind of concept video of high level gameplay and what it takes to be a top player. And I think players just think, oh, it's just, some players have it, or some players are just lucky, and there's so much more to it than that. So anyways, hope you guys like this content, and yeah, enjoy. Hey everyone, if you made it all the way to the end, chances are you really like this content, so thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it. If you want to show your support of the live content, feel free to like and subscribe. Liking and subscribing always helps the algorithm of the show that you like it, so the thing is more likely to give it to other people. In addition to that, if you are always wanting a No Hands Gamer video, but some days I don't put one out because I don't know what to do, we have another channel, which is the No Hands Gamer Vods, which is the raw, unedited content from my Twitch, where you get to see everything on the YouTube format. I highly recommend you go check that out, so you can get your No Hands Gamer fix every day, even when I don't put out a normal YouTube video. Hope to see you guys in the next video.